The increasing violence in many New York communities continue to concern residents and even visitors. How do we build safer neighborhoods and protect our children and families? We'll be discussing that in this program in less than a minute. Also, young academic achievers. How many of our Brooklyn middle school and high school students are excelling in their studies? Well, we'll be chatting with a student who excels, and you'll meet our young academic achiever host, Camella Fairweather. I'm Sam Taitt. Violence, shootings and violent crimes, unsafe neighborhoods. How do we change this? My guests are former Texas police officer Troy Smith and Reverend Terry Lee, the community activist who's been working with the NYPD to tackle issues that affect Brooklyn's residents. Welcome to Brooklyn 45.
Thank you for having us, Sam. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for us.
Okay.
We honor this privilege.
Every day, we hear of another shooting or violent crime that has occurred in Brooklyn and all over the United States. What can we do to address this wave of crime? My first question is going to be coming to you, Officer Troy Smith.
I appreciate it. Yeah, so that's a very good question. What we've been finding is with COVID and everything else that's been going on the last 10 years in the country, that people are getting more and more stressed out, and that's including law enforcement. So both sides are getting more and more stressed out, and their instinct is to lash out and react. So by doing that, we're realizing that we have to figure out a way to bring the community and law enforcement back together. They're starting to disrespect each other. And so we're working on ways to try to get that to start to happen again, to rebuild that bridge. And that's how Pastor Lee and I got together. And I love the fact that there's the Brooklyn Bridge, because we can bridge that gap between the crime and what's going on with law enforcement, not just in Brooklyn area or New York, but also in Texas and all around the country.
You are based in Texas, is that correct? And you're traveling all over the country.
Yes, sir. I'm currently in Chicago, but I'm based out of San Antonio, Texas, and we've been running a program since 2018 called "Walk a Mile in My Shoes" and Words of Respect.
Walk a mile in my shoe. Do you know that song?
I do not know it, but I'm going to look it up. That's the magic of technology and having kids. I can tell my kids find it on the phone for me so that I can hear it. But you're a great
Reverend
singer.
Lee, you must know this song, Walk a Mile in My Shoe.
Well, I've been walking a mile and a half.
So tell us about the mile and a half that you have been walking.
Well, wow. It's been a long walk from Jamaica, to be here in the United States of America. That's a long walk. And we still have not complete the journey as yet. We still have, a little more distance, to go. The battle is not yet over on the journey.
So I want to hear a bit about the battle here in Brooklyn and in New York that you've been waging and that you've been fighting.
Well, as an immigrant here in America, the Lord has instilled in my heart, given me visions, and according to my heart desire to do what he wanted me to do, it had led me out there into the street to bring the battle out into the field. And, the field is that's where all of these negativities, the killing, the shooting, the fighting, the hate, the bickering has been, transpiring and taking place. And the Great Commission, as Jesus said, go ye into all the world, go ye out into the battlefield. And there are times when the battle gets tense in the field, but thank God we are still out there battling, against the enemy, and we are still winning. We're still winning. We're still winning because every day we can see somebody come with a testimony, somebody come and say, thank you. I appreciate what you're doing. You help me, you help my family. whether it's a police, whether it's someone in the health sector, whether it's a homeless on the corner. So every time when I hear someone return and say thank you, that means we know another victory has been won.
What has this battle been like, Troy? Do I call you Troy? Do I call you Police Officer Smith?
I'm Troy.
What has this battle been like in all these states that you've been in the United States?
Well, it's been so tough that the community's getting frustrated. You know, they fear the police. You know, they don't know if they can trust the officers. The police officers are getting frustrated because the majority of the officers are out there trying to do the right thing. And they're so afraid that if they make a mistake, they're going to lose their jobs and their careers and possibly go to prison or jail, and that's going to affect their families. So both sides are afraid of each other right now. And, you know, I tell you, the blessing that I had is I was in New York for a police officer's funeral, and there were thousands of police officers, and Reverend Lee and I ended up coming together. And that's how I knew we were evenly yoked. Out of all of those people, he and I were able to meet each other. And then he reached out to me, and I knew that this was meant for us to be.
This program is seen mostly in New York. How do you compare what is happening in New York to what is happening in other states that you have been in?
The difference is, you know, New York is one of the greatest cities in the world. The police department is the largest, the strongest, and one of the most respected law enforcement agencies in the world. And you have way more people, so you have more opportunity for crime. The crime is the same all over. It's just amplified and magnified 10 times over in New York. And so, you know, I applaud Reverend Lee for getting out there every day and being out in the streets. A lot of people talk about it, but they won't get out there and do it. They're afraid to actually get out there and interact with the community. And I see that with him. And so I know that he's making a difference.
Reverend Lee, you've been working with the NYPD for over 25 years. Today, what would you say about your successes or your failures?
Well, my success is every time I come across a police officer, included today, was over there at the 71st precinct, and just to see police officers that I met and that I know when they were just rookie, they just came on the job, you know, some of them were sergeant and they retire, and just to see all of them who knows me coming over, Reverend, man, you know, they just hugging me, and it was just so refreshing. That tells me that even these cops, they become chiefs, heads of department, and they still, you know, coming over, hey, Reverend, glad to see you. That tell me that we have leave an everlasting impact, you know, upon the life of police officers. That, you know, they you know, because they don't see me where they said, oh yeah, that's a Reverend, man. Oh, forget it. What is he doing here? Like, you know, but they you know, they just come over from the PBA, guys that work for Pat Lynch, you know, and all of them come over, and Reverend Terry Lee, glad to see you, man. You know, we're happy that you're here. Just to hear that, you know, that means the work that we have done with them over the year, they admire and they recognize.
Is being recognized, yes.
You know, and that is good. Now the tough things that we face out there, we don't get, you know, paid for what we do. We don't get, you know, a check from the city for all these work that we have done over the years. And you know, when you give up, when you're not a retiree, right, where you have, you know, resources coming your way, right, but you give up everything else, give up, you know, could have been out there having your own business that you put all those time into it. You know, you could be out there, you know, working for somebody, which you wouldn't have all the time. I wouldn't have all the time to do all the things that I've done. You know how deep that could be. You know, difficult it could be. But again, I keep courage alive, but I still pursue in the midst of not having funding or the resources that we need to do the things that we do. And I was saying to somebody, man, can you imagine we do what we do without funding and resources. Can you imagine if we do get a little help from the powers that be out there? Man, we would do wonders in this nation.
Mhm.
You know, there's a saying that says, "We the willing, doing the impossible for the ungrateful." We have done so much for so long with so little. We are capable of doing anything with nothing. We know that that's true. However, there comes a time when you have to have resources.
Yeah.
Officer Smith, the Supreme Court recently struck down a New York gun law that restricted individuals from carrying a concealed handgun outside the home. I'd like to hear your position on this. You are a former police officer, and you've been traveling all over the United States. What is your position on this?
It's such a difficult thing that, you know, I think that a lot of the decisions being made now are political. When the Supreme Court used to be held to the highest esteem of, you know, looking at all of the facts. And I think now it's becoming such a political thing that depending on which side put them in office, they're making their decisions based on that. And, you know, everybody knows that most people shouldn't be carrying a weapon. You know, especially not in this climate. Crime is on the rise, and then everybody's saying they're putting the pressure on the police to do things, but they're handcuffing them. And so when you're out there and you're dealing with that type of situation, how do you fix it? How do you do something? The officers are tired. They don't want to get involved in anything because they're going to be scrutinized and criticized for everything they do. The community is saying, look, you're not doing enough. We need to start taking matters into our own hands. So it's a difficult situation that I don't have the answer to.
I'm concerned about the New York SAFE Act, and many of my students have been asking questions about it. The New York SAFE Act, which prevents criminals and the dangerously mentally ill from buying guns. It cracks down on illegal guns and bans only the most dangerous assault weapons. I don't know who wants to respond to this first.
The most dangerous assault weapons. I'm in Texas. I'm 80 miles from Uvalde, the incident that happened in Uvalde. It was sickening to see and to hear those kids dying like that. It was senseless. We don't need those kind of weapons. You know what I mean? That's all that is doing, is creating more opportunities for people to become mass murderers.
Mhm. Reverend Lee, talk to us about your community walk and the community festival.
Well, you know, certainly, you know, Dr. Sam, you know, like it is not all police bad, but it's just a few bad people who become police. And there is no two person in this world that have the same fingerprints that matches. So I would not label all police officer, all healthcare worker, all preachers, all people, black, white, Jews. There's no, you know, everybody's not the same. There's no two neighborhoods the same. And the root of all of these things that is going on, when the weatherman is trucking the storm, they truck the eye of the storm. The eyes of the storm of that we are facing with this violence is evil. Evil is a spirit that manifests itself in our life. And that spirit goes from person to person and tell us what evil deeds we should carry out. And all of us have a visitation of that spirit. But we ask God like David, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew
a right spirit within me.
A right spirit within me. So back in 1997, you know, there's a spirit that also told the police officer in the 70 precincts you know, to do what he did to the Asian immigrant, Louima. And you and I, we recall what was happening in the city. You know, the protest, the march, the anger. Even me myself was not pleased. But I come back again. You know, why throw the stone and lick all of the apples in the tree because of a few sour apples? Why stand against the whole department because of the fault of a few? Why stand against the entirely Department of Health because a few doctors do malpractice? Why stand against the entire fire department because a few firefighters do something? So we deal with those who, let the justice system deal with those who carry out their justice act. Now, I look on the other side, and you and I know in the city that there are some great police officers who are family oriented. They love the community. The police officers who go above and behind the call of duty to help and to save people. Sometimes those good deeds never been told. Some of those people are the unsung heroes. The people who do the good deeds not to be seen by the camera or to be heard about doing that. However, so back then in 97, when the Louima incident, you know, the Lord laid on my heart, you know, to, you know, put a plea out that the police and the community, we need to come together to end the police brutality and also to engage the relationship with the police and the community. So that is how we started saying, let's do a unity walk, right? To unite the police and the community back together.
Yes.
So we can unpack by having them, you know, take out the anger, the ego against each other and bridge the gap. And that is what we have been doing. And this year with this unity is over 25 years. And you know, Dr. Sam, it is not just a talk, it's a reality. So we have come 25 years more doing this.
How long have you been working across America, Troy Smith? And what has your message been to the various communities in the many states that you've been traveling?
Wow, I started in 1990, getting out in the community that I served in San Antonio. And from there, you know, it's just started growing. And just like Reverend Lee, you have to get out and realize that somebody has to take the first step. And what I started realizing is the community and the police have to work together, strength in numbers. And I had the pleasure of about a month ago or a few weeks ago to meet a young man named Devarjay Daniel. Unbelievable story. He's been sworn in by the NYPD and law enforcement agencies all across the country. The kid is 10 years old, he has cancer. He picked up the torch for a little girl named Abigail. Abigail Arias had cancer and DJ had cancer. And she passed away after saying she wanted to become a police officer, and the law enforcement agency where she lived, they made her an honorary officer. Well, DJ found out about it because their parents started a program called Abigail's Reach for kids that have cancer. And DJ said, you know what, I want to do something for this little girl. Who does that? Somebody that young. He picked up the torch and he said, I'm going to get sworn in by 100 law enforcement agencies, keep her name alive and keep her dream going, her vision. And to date, he's been sworn into over 600 law enforcement agencies. I had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks, maybe a month ago, and he just blew me out of the water, 10 years old. And he told me, he says, we have to get back together, the community and law enforcement. I'm looking at this kid and I'm saying, we're supposed to teach our kids and this kid is teaching us. So I reached out to his father and I said, listen, I don't know if he just wants to be sworn in by a bunch of agencies or if he really wants to do police work. And his dad said he really wants to do police work. At 10 years old, we're going to have him come up for the Unity Walk. He'll wear his uniform and he's going to help bring law enforcement, and the community together as a 10-year-old. He sees the vision and he sees a way to make things happen. And it's just blowing my mind that this kid is so focused on making a difference in the community and in the country and not even focusing on his issues or concerns. Who does that? If we can't learn from that, I don't know, we're in a bad shape.
Yes. Well, we have to encourage our kids to do the right thing. We've been hearing so much violence and so much shootings and stabbings here in New York by kids. And we hope that our kids will be listening to this program and we'll be learning to do the right thing. I want to thank you, Officer Troy Smith, and I want to thank you, Reverend Terry Lee. Thank you for being on Brooklyn 45. And I encourage you to keep up the work that you are doing. And I wish you success. All of America wish you success.
Thank you.
And now over to our Young Academic Achievers host, Camella Fairweather.
This is Brooklyn 45, Young Academic Achievers segment. Greetings, I am Camella Fairweather, and today we are featuring Miss Amelia Jones. Amelia attends Brooklyn Laboratory Charter School, and she has just completed the 7th grade. Hello, Amelia, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to have you on our show today. I have heard so many amazing things about you, that you are not only on the honor roll, but that you achieve great grades and you do so many things in the community, creative things. And I'd like to hear a little bit more about you. So please start off with telling us about your performance in school. What are the things that motivate you and excite you, and what causes you to get those great grades?
Thank you for having me. What causes me to get these great grades, or what inspires me and encourages me, is really the teachers, because we have a close relationship. So when they're teaching, they're not only giving me a lesson, we're having a conversation about the work and a good interaction.
Great. And what about you? What are some of your study habits? What are some of the things that inspire you to really do well in getting good grades at school?
Just the idea of excelling in my work excites me. I wouldn't like to be the type of person to have bad grades.
Are there people like your family or one special teacher or maybe someone in the community that really also encourages you with your academic performance?
Yes, many people. I'm not going to name all, but just a few. Miss Martin, my first, second, and fourth grade teacher, because she opened a lot of opportunities and opened a lot of doors and encouraged me. She pushed me a long way through the years as I grew up. And yeah, also my mom, of course, she supports me. She really does everything. My aunt, who is a mental health therapist, she checks up on me mentally and physically on how I'm doing. And if I need help with anything, or if I'm going through some tough times, I would always go to talk to her. And my dad, because he would always give me quotes and aspirations to go through my week and have a good week and things I should believe in to bring positivity into my life.
That's awesome. So you have an amazing group of people that surround you to keep you at the top of your game, it sounds like, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, what are you passionate about? What are the things that really give you joy? And then when you tell me about that, also tell me about what you do in your community in service to others.
So the things that give me joy and really excites me, reading, because when I read, it's not really reading as other kids would say, like it's boring. But when I read, I picture what I read as a movie. So I'm watching something and it would really make the book more interesting. Um, what also really excites me is making my bracelets because I do make jewelry. I also sell them. So that also, and when I sell them and give it to other people, they will have it as an accessory and have it to add to their, to characterize themselves. Also, something I do for the community, I used to preach, it had stopped during COVID, but I used to preach a lot. The farthest place I went to was Connecticut. Um, that was also given to the community because I was spreading the word out there from what I believe in and my beliefs. Also, I would go with my grandparents to give out tracts. So they're small bags with books in it and a card where you write down your name, and if you need a prayer, if you need help, we would help you, and they would come to the church.
Amelia, tell me something about GEMS.
Okay. So GEMS is a group, a part of my church. It basically means girls emerging into mature sisters. It teaches us etiquette, how to be proper women in life, and basically how to survive through these times because it's getting hard for us as females. And basically, yeah, and how to express ourselves.
That's amazing. Well, you know, girls rock, right?
Yeah.
And we do have that great magic. Amelia, you are amazing. I am so excited about your future, and you keep on doing the best that you can possibly do. And I'll be praying for you, so pray for us too. Back to you, Sam.
Thank you, Camella Fairweather, and to you, our viewers, we thank you for watching this program. We invite you to partner with Brooklyn 45. We are a 501c3 not-for-profit company, and when you support us, you benefit as well. On behalf of the Brooklyn 45 team, I am Sam Taitt.
Brooklyn 45 is a 501c3 not-for-profit, and we welcome your support. Check out our website, brooklyn45.com, and feel free to donate or share it with your friends and family. Have any comments or questions? Send them to our Facebook, facebook.com/brooklyn45tv. If you have any questions or topics you think we should cover next, shoot me an email over at brooklyn45tv@gmail.com. Thank you again for watching.